It's a regular work day, you're in the coffee lounge, maybe in a Teams lunch or on a Zoom call, where the agenda drifts. Colleagues are chatting about weekend plans, that popular series on Netflix, or the same office stories you've heard before. You try to get in the conversation and add something deeper, an idea, a perspective, maybe even a question worth exploring. Instead of sparking dialogue, the room feels like the Wi-Fi just dropped. You're left wondering, did anyone connect with what I just said? If that sounds familiar to you, you're not alone. Countless professionals feel that gap. The conversation they want versus the one that actually happens. And here's the twist. That gap isn't a flaw, it's a signal. It's the tension between light talk and deep dialogue. And if you know how to navigate it, that tension can become your greatest strength. Later, I'll share the turning point when I realized that small talk isn't just a filler. It's the glue holding teams together. Here's the thing, everyday conversations serve a purpose. They build comfort, connection, and ease. But for those who thrive on curiosity, analysis, and meaning, those conversations can start to feel incomplete. It doesn't mean that your thoughts don't matter. It just means that you're tuned to notice the details, to ask questions, and to look at things from a different perspective. Socrates had this habit of walking through Athens, stopping people midway with questions about what is virtue, what is the meaning of life. Back then, the marketplace was the hub of conversation. Today, it's on Slack and Zoom calls. Most people gave Socrates quick, surface-level answers. Some grew frustrated, and others dismissed him entirely. Yet Socrates believed that true wisdom came from not having all the answers, but from questioning the assumptions that everyone else took for granted. He forced people to pause, to think, and to confront ideas they'd rather leave untouched. At this time, his approach often left him isolated. People started to avoid him because his questions disrupted the comfort of everyday conversation. But centuries later, his methods of inquiry became the foundation of education, leadership thinking, and philosophy. In today's workplace, the scene isn't all that different. Think about when you're in a meeting and the team is rushing through updates. Everyone is focused on deadlines, deliverables, and the next milestone. You raise your hand and ask, why are we doing it this way? Or what's the bigger goal behind this project? The room goes quiet. Someone shifts in their chair. Another person says, let's move on. It feels awkward, maybe even isolating. But just like Socrates, you've asked the question that cuts deeper than the surface. And here's the paradox. In that moment, it might feel uncomfortable, but those are the questions that spark change. Socrates reminds us that discomfort is often the birthplace of growth. If your question unsettles people in a good way, it's probably worth asking. Isolation doesn't mean irrelevance. Being ahead of the conversation sometimes means standing apart. Seeds take time to grow. The questions you ask today may not land immediately, but can shape tomorrow's outcomes. In the corporate world, this matters. Teams need people who can deliver results, but they also need people who can challenge assumptions, spot blind spots, and ask crucial questions that no one else dares to. That's how innovation happens. Think about it. The people who often ask why often drive innovation. The ones who notice patterns people miss are often the ones who spot opportunities. The ones who challenge assumptions are often the ones who help teams to grow. So while not every conversation may be in deep dialogue, your perspective is valuable, even if it doesn't land in everyday conversation. So how do we balance that need for depth in conversation with the reality of a modern workplace culture? The answer lies in 3 shifts. Shift 1, reframe solitude. Feeling out of sync doesn't mean you're isolated. It means you're tuned differently. Instead of seeing solitude as a weakness, treat it as a space to recharge and to connect with others who share your curiosity. This can be achieved through books and community. Shift 2, channel your energy. A curious mind without direction can feel restless. But when you pour that energy into projects and meaningful work, it transforms into momentum. Curiosity becomes fuel and not frustration. Shift 3. Value both sides. Light conversations build trust. Deep conversations build insight. And we need both. Early in my career, I had a rule: no small talk. While colleagues laughed about weekend plans or TV recommendations, I kept work conversations strictly about deadlines, updates, and strategy. I thought that was the professional way. Work was for work. But here's what I noticed. My work was valued, but real connections were harder to build. People bonded over small talk, and that bond made collaboration smoother. Then came the turning point. I realized small talk wasn't just a filler. It was glue. It built trust, comfort, and belonging. And when trust was there, my deeper questions about strategy and purpose landed with more impact. So I shifted. A quick laugh, a comment about weekend plans, even a light joke in the break room. Suddenly, people weren't just hearing my words. They were hearing them from someone they felt connected to, someone they felt they could relate to. When we learn to appreciate the small talk and the deep conversations, we'll know exactly when to bring our perspective forward and when to let connection do the work. Maybe the moments that you feel out of place are the signals that you're seeing something others haven't. That's not a weakness. That's a sign of leadership. The corporate world needs more people who can connect and think critically. It needs more people who can laugh at the small stuff, but also ask big questions. So the next time you feel your perspective is too deep for the conversation, remember Socrates in the marketplace. He wasn't celebrated during his time. He was avoided. But his questions outlived him, shaping centuries of thought. Your questions, your insights, and your thinking may not always get the applause in the moment, but they matter. They plant seeds. And in a world that often values speed over depth, being the one who asks why isn't a sign of weakness. It's leadership. So if you've ever felt like your thoughts sets you apart in the workplace, always remember that's not a barrier. It's a gift. The right audience for your ideas may not be the group in front of you, and that's okay. So here's my challenge for you. Think back to a moment at work when you asked a question that was too deep for the room. Maybe it was in a meeting, maybe it was over coffee, or maybe over a Zoom call. Did people dismiss it, or did it spark something even greater later on? Drop your story in the comments, I'd love to know. Your experience might be the spark someone else needs to ask their own deep questions. I'm Olisha Naicker, and I will see you in the next video.